I roll a 16 to attack. Does that hit?
Yes, how much damage?
7.
Okay, great. How about you, Rogue?
I rolled an 11. Does that hit?
Nope, sorry. Fighter, how about you? Fighter. Fighter!
Hey, wake up, you idiot!
What's going on?
Why?
We're in a high stakes, fast paced, dramatic combat, of course.
Oh, the crap we are. This sucks.
Yep, that's right. How long have we been playing now? A year or so? I agree. As much as I enjoy higher mathematics, I would have expected our Dungeon Master to figure out how to make combat more enjoyable by now.
Yeah, Mr. Dungeon Master, sir. I sort of think that combat in Dungeons and Dragons should be more interesting than just rolling dice and doing math.
Yeah, Fat Cat agrees. Do you know how hard it is to roll multiple dice with pause? You see, it doesn't work.
Look, you guys, combat is combat. You're killing stuff. What more could you possibly want? I beg to differ. Combat is one of the 3 pillars of D&D and can be so much more. Yeah, like we should be role-playing during combat, not just hacking things limbs off.
Well, actually, hacking things limbs off is role-playing for some of us.
Indeed, there are many things you can do as a dungeon master to make combat better for your players. Oh yeah? Like what? Give me one example.
Well, actually, I know someone who's been a dungeon master since high school who could give you 10 examples.
Yeah, and this illustrious dungeon master has 7 kitty cats.
Yeah, okay, but are they fat cats?
Well, no, not all of them. But actually, 4 of them have achieved the title of Chonker.
It's time to fatten the kitties up.
Welcome to the DM Lair. I'm Lucar, and I've been a Dungeon Master since high school. On this channel, I give practical Dungeon Master advice that you can implement at your game table. Today in the Lair, we're going to be discussing 10 tips for better combat in Dungeons & Dragons. And just as a preface to this discussion, better combat doesn't always mean faster combat, although admittedly, boggy combat that goes way too slow definitely can suck. By the way, my Kickstarter, Into the Fae, has now launched. It's an adventure module designed to take a party from level 1 to 5, featuring tons of new Fae creatures, Fae magic items, and even Fae spells. Did I mention that there are lots of Fae in it? It will come with a fully fleshed out starter town, Airedale, that serves as a hub for the adventuring party's forays to thwart the Vex Mortem Fae's evil ambitions for the region. Of course, there will be lots of awesome art and beautiful dungeon maps to accompany the adventures themselves. Oh, and let's not forget the dope Kickstarter exclusive merch. We'll have high quality micro suede dice bags, t-shirts, and even tactical tokens. Now, the Kickstarter closes at the end of September, but everyone who pledges on day 1, that's today, September 1st, will get a bonus digital wallpaper and art pack for all the art I commission for the module. Click the link below to lock in your pledge. Okay, better combat in Dungeons & Dragons. Let's get this show on the road. Number 1, roleplay during combat. Have you ever wondered what the world's most boring combats look like? Yeah, it's something similar to the first part of my opening skit. Come on, folks. Combat should be more than just rolling dice and doing math. Role-playing doesn't stop when initiative is rolled. Something that I routinely do in my games is have the enemies continue to talk to the characters during combat, often taunting them or ridiculing them, or perhaps letting loose barbaric war cries. And remember that combat is role-playing too. When people say role-playing, what they usually mean is the talky bits in the game. However, everything we do in the game is role-playing, including combat. So make sure you continue to roleplay your enemies or characters during combat. Would that troll really rush up to the vulnerable wizard that just tossed a firebolt at its buddy? Or would it rather stay away from Mr. Firehands and attack the fighter instead? Number 2, describe the action and continually set the scene during combat. Dungeon Masters, what I mean here is to continue to narrate the enemy's actions during combat. Don't just say it's a hit or a miss, 5 damage or 50 damage. Describe the warlord swinging that sword and having it glance off the heavily armored fighter's cauldron. Cauldron? cauldron. Describe the arcs of lightning running up and down the sorcerer's body before she flings a lightning bolt at the shambling mound. And then describe in exquisite detail how all the monster's injuries are healed. And encourage your players to describe their own actions in combat as well, not just call off to hit and damage numbers. You might consider rewarding them with inspiration or luck points when they do a good job of it too. Also, Dungeon Masters, from time to time, when one player has just finished their turn, set the scene really quick before the next player takes their turn. The Manticore is banking above you, about to take another pass. Dalinar, you're up. What do you do? However, I have a word of caution here with all of this description. Don't go overboard. If you describe things in too much detail, it will bog the game down and bring your awesome combats to a grinding halt. There is a thing as too much description, so keep things short and sweet. Number 3, ask your players to describe their killing blows. Lethal or non-lethal?
Oh, definitely lethal.
Would you like to describe the manner of your enemy's demise?
Oh yeah, I bring my axe down right on his head, splitting his face open and spraying brain matter all over me. And then I jerk my axe free from his twitching body.
Now, describing killing blows is similar, of course, to narrating actions, but I've found that encouraging players to narrate the killing blow is particularly effective. Many players won't want to narrate every little thing, and for the sake of not bogging things down, I don't think you'd want them to. But asking them to do it for the killing blow works really well because it corresponds to a moment of excitement when they've just vanquished a foe. At that moment, even reserved players are pumped and more willing to spread a little more frosting on the cake. Okay, let's not start talking about food in this video. I actually have pizza in the fridge. Like last time I had the whole pizza in the fridge thing, that was a lie. I didn't really have any pizza. I literally have pizza in the fridge right now. I crap you not. Let's just keep going. Willpower. Number 4, only give players a few seconds on their turn to decide on their actions. I have found that the single biggest thing that bogs combat down is players taking forever. I mean, like forever, like literally forever, figuratively forever, but still quasi-literally. You get me. To decide what they're going to do on their turn. I was once in a game with a wizard who took about 15 minutes to decide what spell she was going to cast. I crap you not, I'm not exaggerating, and I could not believe that the Dungeon Master was not doing something to move things along. It was absolutely horrible. Actually, there were lots of stuff from that game that were horrible. I'll just keep those stories for future videos. So when I'm running a game and it's the player's turn, I give them just a few seconds to tell me what they're doing. I mean, they should have been thinking about it during the other players' turns anyway, not just when I called their name. If the players can't give me an action, they dodge for that round and do nothing. You would not believe how effective this technique is for getting players to make decisions faster. And quit your game if it routinely takes them 15 minutes to make up their minds on what spell to cast. Like, come on. As the Dungeon Master, I have a whole crap load of stuff to do. Create the game world, create the adventures, create the NPCs, run the adventures, run the NPCs, run combat, buy all the books, buy minis, paint minis, and the list goes on. And you're telling me you can at least read up on the 10 spells you know before the game session begins? Doing this also helps simulate the tension of combat, making things more dramatic and exciting. When combat becomes too slow, I found it can easily become boring as well. Number 5, give the players 1 minute between rounds to discuss tactics as a group. This is a house rule I've been using for some time now, and my players generally love it. It gives them an opportunity to discuss as a group how they want to approach the next round, reinforcing the feeling of teamwork and the tactical nature of combat in D&D. It also simulates the fact that professional warriors, because that's what a group of adventurers is, would almost assuredly be discussing and practicing their combat tactics all of the time, while traveling around the campfire, some light sparring in the clearing before the day begins. And when you give players a minute between rounds to discuss what they're going to do, it helps players to know what they're going to do on their individual turns, so you'll get answers quicker and the rounds will run more smoothly. Number 6, have enemies use special tactics, spells, and effects to make things more dynamic and interesting. Dungeon Masters, come here. Do you want to know what is one of the most boring types of enemies you can plop in front of your players? Ones that are just big sacks of hit points that do damage. They swing their swords or slash with their claws, but other than that, nothing much of interest is really going on. But what about if that warlord tripped the barbarian down to the ground and then had his goons swarm him and hold him down in a grapple? And then the warlord started to cleave him to pieces with his sword, attacking each time with advantage. Wouldn't that be more interesting than just going toe-to-toe and hacking away at each other? Also, feel free to give your bad guys special abilities, magical effects, and even spells that are not in their stat blocks. Look, I love Dungeons & Dragons, but holy crap, some of the monsters in the book are lame and boring. Many of them need spicing up, so yeah, let's get to work. Number 7, use terrain and environmental effects. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. A bare room with 4 walls, a ceiling, and preferably a floor, but with nothing interesting in it is a wonderful way to kick off a lame, boring combat. There'd be a bed, cabinet, and mirror in the room. Fighter swings her sword, missing the bad guy, but smashing the mirror. Then the rogue scoops up the shards of glass and slings them at another bad guy. There are jagged stalagmites spaced about the cave, and a ledge with a long drop down into an underground river. The enemies and the players can use the stalagmites as cover, or even shove each other into them, possibly dealing damage. And that ledge? Well, do you know a faster way to get rid of an ogre than pushing it off the ledge and into the underground river? I don't. With regards to the environment, the gas stove in the corner is giving off a fetid stench, forcing everyone to make Constitution saving throws every round or spend their turn retching. Or the screaming wind is blowing so forcefully that snow is being whipped all around the party, effectively blinding them in the middle of a wild combat. And the white half-dragons, however, can see just fine thanks to their blind sight. Number 8, have bad guys flee or surrender. Look, even bad guys value their lives. When things are going badly for them and defeat seems certain, many villains and enemies are going to try to flee, which usually doesn't work out in D&D 5th edition, of course. Or they're gonna surrender. Now, having the bad guys run away changes the dynamic of the battle immediately, and players now have to consider not just how to deplete hit point pools, but how to keep the foes from getting away. And in my games, my players are usually terrified, and rightly so, that if they let a bad guy get away, he might get reinforcements. If the enemies surrender, well, that can segue perfectly into a questioning and interrogation scene during which the players can glean useful information. Such scenes are also extremely valuable for dungeon masters to dole out plot points and clues that will help progress the adventure and campaign. By the way, if you want to learn about my house rule for running chase scenes, there's a link to that down below. Number 9, the goal of combat doesn't have to be murder. Sometimes enemies need to be taken alive, either as a requirement or because the players need information from them. If you build these alternative endings into combats from time to time, things get more interesting. Or perhaps someone must not only be taken alive, but not harmed at all while being apprehended. The point here is to use your creativity and imagination to make the parameters be a tad more difficult than just kill everything in sight. Number 10, use combat music. Dude, seriously. Few things set the mood like some awesome music during the game. When I would play in person, I would always have music going for the group, not just during combat, but the entire game. The right music during combat can really make the battle pop. I enjoy using tracks from movies such as Conan the Barbarian or video games such as World of Warcraft. Or you can use free online music such as Tabletop Audio, which is another personal favorite. Don't forget to pledge to my Kickstarter Into the Fey at the link below. Remember, it's only open through September. Let me know what your top tip for improving combat is in D&D. Next week, the Barbarian will be explaining the history and lore of Beholders, but until then, click right here to learn 10 ways to make combats faster in D&D. And until next time, let's play D&D.